and welcome to yet another edition of your weekly international current affairs program, Globe Watch on the Cameroon Radio Television with me, Charles Ebune, and today we are receiving the Director General of the Israeli Agency for International Development, best known by its Jewish acronym MASHAV. Madam Director General and Deputy Director in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Eynat Shlein. Thank you very much, and thank you for granting this interview exclusively to us.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
MASHAV, the Israeli Agency for International Development, is plus 60 years of existence, basically born from the Bandung Conference of 1955, in which Israel was excluded, and the idea developed by your then Foreign Affairs Minister, Golda Meir, who later became Israel's first and only female Prime Minister. Can you just situate to me how MASHAV was born?
Well, actually, MASHAV was born in 1958. As you referred to, it was initiated by Golda Meir, the then foreign minister. The myth in our ministry is that the idea came up to our head after a tour in West Africa. There are many countries in West Africa which claim the fame of inspiring Minister Meir. However, the important thing is that in 58, MASHAV was established. And it's been active now for 67 years and trained over 350,000 graduates. Now, I think that the interesting point here is that there are plenty of assistance and development agencies around the world belonging to governments. However, I think MASHAV is unique because when we were founded in 1958, Israel was still a developing country. All other aid agencies belong to developed countries. But in 1958, 10 years old, Israel already wanted to share the unique experience and to create partnerships via development, which was very modern for the time. And now, of course, we are fully developed, but we continue to work with our partners around the world in 140 countries in all continents in order to promote sustainable development.
When the MASHAV was created in 1958, that was roughly 10 years of Israel's existence as a sovereign entity. By then, Ben-Gurion was still the Prime Minister. What were the principal missions which were assigned to this agency, whose focus by then was basically in developing countries?
MASHAV is only focusing in developing countries. In normal years, roughly 85% of our budget is aimed at capacity building and 15% to humanitarian assistance for any disasters happening around the world, natural disasters or man-made disasters. In 1958, our forefathers decided to launch this initiative working in developing countries for two main goals, which have also a reflection in our current agenda. In 1958, they founded MASHAV on two bases. First of all, the very Jewish quest to make this world a better place. It is called Tikkun Olam in Hebrew, making this world a better place. This is our role. So it has a moral aspect. And the other aspect, they thought that at 10 years old, the young and then vulnerable state of Israel would offer assistance and development and partner with other countries, other young countries, in order to create partnerships. Fast forward into 2024, we still hold basically the same elements. What we used to call making this a better world is definitely a guiding light in our work. However, today we would frame it that Israel is fully committed to the Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 of the UN, to which Israel is a co-signee, on the one hand. And on the other hand, MASHAV has proved its effectiveness as a wonderful tool creating bridges and relations with countries all around the world, which we constantly continue to nourish.
67 years on, probably there have been key moments of evolution which you consider as historic, as unique, as moments that have shaped MASHAV the way it is today. If you were to pick some of the key moments, how do you say the agency has evolved or mutated?
Well, we evolve in a normal pace according to the circumstances. If we would have compared the circumstances in 1958 to today, both of us are yet to be born in 1958.
Sure.
You would see the world has totally transformed. Shall I say the word internet and digitalization?
There was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube in 1958.
Exactly, and not even in 1990. Internet was, I recall, internet was first introduced in the mid-90s, and in many countries, even around Israel, people did not have their personal access to the internet until 95, 96, and even further. But taking it back to the late 50s, MASHAV's cradle, if I may use this term, was in Africa. We worked extensively in this continent, I would say in the most part of the 50s and 60s. And we were involved in almost everything, every aspect of development, including infrastructure. Today, we are not involved in infrastructure because we decided that, and we learned through the years that it is much better to concentrate on human capital, because that is the real fuel and engine to bring sustainable development. So after the 60s, we also widened the scope also to Latin America and Asia. And in the 90s, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, also to East Europe and to the Central Asia and the Caucasus, we have evolved according to the modern accomplishments and the political circumstances.
Sure, the political circumstances, the technological mutations of the world have greatly shaped the way MASHAV has equally changed over the years. But let me just speak one aspect of Jewish society where you involve MASHAV hugely, agriculture. Why do you think that the agricultural program or providing training in agriculture in developing countries, it can be in Nigeria, it can be in Latin America like Bolivia and other countries, why do you think that this is very core to the workings of MASHAV?
Well, if I may beg to differ, MASHAV is not involved just in agriculture. Israel excels in agriculture.
I just took an aspect of Jewish life.
No. First of all, also to the viewers, Israel is not just a Jewish nation. It is the Jewish state. However, we have Muslims and Christians, and when we work with MASHAV, we work as Israelis, not necessarily just as Jews. It's important to know that. However, the Jewish heritage is one of our guiding lights, as I mentioned when we talked of Tikkun Olam, making this a better world. So at this point, as I said before, we support all the sustainable development goals. However, we try and concentrate on those that are in which Israel has a given advantage, be it agriculture, water management, or reclaiming of wastewater for usage, education, gender equality, medicine, community resilience with all of its aspects, and of course innovation, which became a beacon of MASHAV's work. You referred to the changes between the 50s and 60s, and today innovation was not one of our major concentrations.
Artificial intelligence and all others were not there in those days.
No, not at all. But nowadays, innovation and emphasizing entrepreneurship and creating either private sector and very important for development, government platforms for the encouragement of entrepreneurship in the various societies. That is something that we concentrate upon, and innovation is actually applicable to all areas. That is, we offer now trainings in innovation in education, innovation in agriculture, innovation in emergency medicine. Everything is embedded into the main areas of concentration, the same way that climate change, which is the major slogan now, combat against climate change. We've been working against climate change since our very beginning. As we fought the desert, we tried to encounter the Israeli geography and the weather by introducing innovative techniques and ways of handling these issues, and which later became transformed into the whole campaign against climate change. I can say that in current times, more than 50% of MASHAV's activities are concentrated on the campaign against climate change. This is and if I may also add, whether we train people about regarding gender equality or education or medicine, the climate change is incorporated right inside these issues.
Israel today is one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world. How much of Israeli technology do you input in the work of MASHAV to better other societies in the world? Take, for example, medicine.
150%, not just in medicine, also in agriculture, in education, in all of the aspects we're engaged with, because technology is the key to the future. And when I say technology, it's not just about the hardware. Hardware is important, but the software, in this case, the human capital, which is the software that really ignites all these changes. This is our major area of concentration. And when we bring people to Israel to train, or that we send our trainers abroad, as we're having actually this week in agriculture in Cameroon, and next week we'll have a workshop on innovation, we emphasize the technological aspects in order to create change and advance the national agenda.
Now let's talk the impact of MASHAV globally in all the countries that you have worked and you have extended your largesse. When it comes to human capacity building, how many people have you trained? When it comes to building resilience, what are some of the key projects you can cite as signposts of success stories?
Sure. So every year we train about 5,000 people, either in Israel or abroad. So I have here the booklet of our regular programs. We also do tailor-made programs, which we teach in 5 languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, and Russian. And whether it is, I'm just looking through here, intensive aquaculture production, or startup accelerators in entrepreneurial ecosystems, or anything in this regard, we train many people, and we keep in touch with them. There are follow-up seminars virtually and also on the ground. We provide micro financing for small projects pitched by our graduates. We can see the impact, how they make a difference, because we never take entry-level participants. We take from the middle level and above. We believe in train the trainers. The people we train should study, take in as much as they can, and then they bring it home.
Do you have echoes of how they have evolved, and how they too are impacting their communities? And I think that is where the core material is.
So we have among our graduates people who have really climbed up the ladder. We have prime ministers, presidents, chiefs of Supreme Courts, and so on and so forth. And we also have many good people that went back and contributed on the municipal and local level to their national economies. We can see how they shift educational systems, how they shift agricultures. We had a very successful project here in Cameroon, 2017 to 2019, improving the value chains of the mango together with the Germans. That was very, very successful, and up to now, with the nurseries and the improved mango trees cultivation is still available in Cameroon. We had a 10 years project in Ethiopia for the introduction of the avocados into Ethiopia. In Ghana, we had a 7 or 8 years project of working with all of the early age educators in the country. When we build trauma centers and ICU units, we've built dozens of them. We can see how they change lives. And when we build such a unit, for example, a unit we built in 2015 in Togo, we don't just build the actual unit provide all the equipment, but we also train all the staff, doctors, nurses, paramedics, and so on. And then we come back for follow-up trainings, as happened last week in Togo in the medical unit, or last month in the in South Sudan, in Juba, where we opened the only ICU unit in South Sudan until now. And we did this 2 years ago, and last month we had a training, a refresher course for the staff. My point being, these people are making a difference. It could be on the policy making level if they become very senior. It could be also municipally. I met this week in Burundi a graduate which founded an NGO, a very successful one, started with providing meals for hospitalized patients and for their families that accompanied them, and it evolved to a major organization. Now they provide also education for the children of the patients, which are with them in the hospital, psychological support, and so on. And this is a very prominent young man that participated in social entrepreneurship training in Israel in 2017. So we have lots of examples. I'm bringing to this conversation some African examples, but they're all over the world. And we can see how the impact is made. You could also see right here in Cameroon, I've met some very, very impressive graduates, whether they're engaged in emergency services or in agriculture or in innovation. They make a difference in their country's lives.
Very soon the conversation will come to an end, but when I go through your documents, you are hugely operating in Africa, in Latin America. Well, the quick explanation is that these are the areas where most developing countries on earth are found. Is that the only explanation?
Well, again, I would beg to differ. We're very active in Africa and Latin America, but also very much so in Asia, Central Asia, and Eastern Europe. In India, for example, we have 32 centers of excellence in agriculture. We're building more, and we have coming up two centers of excellence on water usage. We've been working in all of these countries where they are developing and where we are able to partner with them. I think that it is important to note that we provide assistance to all, especially when a disaster, God forbid, happens, like any natural disaster. However, we are very committed to partner and work with our good friends.
Tsunami in Malaysia, as it was some years ago.
Malaysia is unfortunately not a country we work in or work with.
Okay.
But be it in India or Nepal or in North Cameroon, where our ambassador has brought in a full plane of supplies only 2 weeks ago to Mahawa. So we are always there for our friends and partners, and we work with the governments. This week I've met your Prime Minister and quite a few of the ministers, and we thought of ideas. We explored the potential, which is vast in here, and we are happy to work with your government to bring in some more sustainable development, and in order to contribute to the friendship between the two nations.
What do you intend to do? We are wrapping up in the next 5 years as MASHAV, as an agency. What are your priority areas?
Priority areas are first and foremost climate change. As I've mentioned before, this has become a major issue even when we didn't call it climate change. It affects communities, it affects their resilience, it affects their education, it affects the younger generations. We are working with all governments on the various aspects of climate change. We're also engaged with all UN agencies, other development agencies, and organizations such as the Green Climate Fund, dedicated to fighting climate change. Apart from that, I take you back to the list of our sectors: emergency medicine and education and agriculture, and working together with our partners towards development.
With me is one of the most well-written books in terms of tourism promotion I have ever read, Facts About Israel. When I read a book like that and I go through Israeli history, culture, society, diplomacy, and the way you function in the 21st century, well, we are living in a very dangerous and unpredictable environment, all combined, the Israeli society. What do you consider to be the country's best ambassador? Most people know Israel around the world only when it comes to politics, blah, 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 Palestinian issues. How do you qualify MASHAV, the country's best ambassador?
I think, of course, I mean, as I would be losing my job if I wouldn't say so. What would my staff think about this if I don't take the opportunity to praise us up? But I really believe that MASHAV is a very useful and effective tool.
A force for good.
I'm sorry?
A force for good.
Yes, and it is a very effective tool for foreign relations because it portrays a very strong vision of Israel as a leader in the development world, highly engaged in the topics which stand at the core of the global agenda: climate change, gender equality, health for all, food for all,
human
and so on. Yes, all of these and more. I believe that MASHAV is showing the real nature of Israel, the Israel behind the news. I'm sorry to say this to a prominent journalist, however, journalists prefer to report the immediate events and the tragedies around the world. But MASHAV is bringing the good news, the very patient pace of development and the effect it makes on people's life. I believe that is the best thing that Israel can offer today to the world, and we do.
And possibly this is one of Israel's greatest contributions to human emancipation. The Director General of the Israeli Agency for International Development and Deputy Director at the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Eynat Shlein. Thank you very much indeed for being my guest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Bienvenue aux Jeux Olympiques de Paris 2024.
3 hours plus for a 7-year preparatory finale. $300,000 more people flock the banks of the Seine River as 85 boats carry 205 national Olympic delegations containing 6.
La flamme olympique va faire briller Paris et toute la France encore plus fort.
The 33rd modern Olympiad brought back to stage for the first time in 4 years Canadian global enduring superstar Celine Dion. The overflow of emotions gave way to some few statements from officials of the French government and the International Olympic Committee.